The data files you create in the Experiment menu can be analyzed directly inside MicroResp. Note that even if you are running the demo version of MicroResp, that is, you do not have the Loligo license dongle connected to your PC, you're still able to analyze any MicroResp data file as if it were in the full version. To analyze the data file, simply open the Analysis menu and choose the MicroResp log file you want to analyze. The first MO2 tab you meet is like the Values tab in the Experiment menu, except here you see the calculated median MO2 value for each well and the R² value below. The treatment tags up here are the same you assigned during the experiment. Currently, the MO2 unit is shown in micrograms per hour, but if you want to change this, head over to the Settings tab and change the unit in the General section. We will get to the rest of the content in the Settings tab in a moment. Moving on to the Slope tab, each well now shows the slope, which is the chosen oxygen unit per hour. Again, the oxygen unit can be changed in the Settings tab, and if you change the unit, you will see the updated data back in the Slope tab. The Graphs tab contains 3 subtabs: the oxygen versus time for each well, a combined oxygen versus time graph showing all wells, and an MO2 per treatment plot. You can change these oxygen or MO2 units also in the Settings tab if needed. Looking at the oxygen versus time graph for the individual wells, you may notice these small red dots. If we open a well graph, you will see that these red dots are in fact individual oxygen values, and they only appear inside these yellow limit lines. The red dots illustrate that only these oxygen values are being used for the MO2 calculations, and you can filter which oxygen values to include by adjusting the wait time and the lower and upper limit in the Settings tab under the Filter section. Using the filters is useful if you, for example, want to exclude some noise in the beginning of the experiment due to changes in sample temperature, or if you want to look at the MO2 values within a certain oxygen level range. The purple regression line is also based only on the red dotted oxygen values. If we take a closer look at the Filter section in the Settings tab, we can filter out even more oxygen values by adjusting the end time or by setting a different R² minimum level. So, if you find that you have strange or missing MO2, slope, or oxygen data, check the Filter section to see if you are excluding any vital data. Another important setting that may influence your data is the subtract blanks function. When enabled, all wells assigned the blank treatment will be a combined data set that is then subtracted from the data in your other treatments. A quick note about the MO2 versus treatment subtab is that each red dot represents an individual well, and each well is then grouped into their respective treatment down here. For each treatment, you will also get a mean value, shown as a black dot, and a median value, shown in blue. After exploring your data in the MO2, Slope, and Graphs tabs, you typically want to export all of your data as an Excel file. This can be done up here using the Save button. Keep in mind that all the settings in the Settings tab are applied to the exported data file, so if you need to change any setting, you will need to change it in MicroResp before exporting the data file. And if we have a look again at the Settings tab, most of the values and options are grayed out. This is because these values and options are copied directly from the original experiment file, and generally you want to leave them as they are. But if you need to change a value, just enable Edit Loaded Data and then make the changes needed. We highly recommend that any changes to the experiment data is done here in the analysis menu, rather than changing the values in the original log file, as this will be a permanent change in your data file. A quick look into a data file exported from the analysis menu shows an overview tab with a summary of your experiment settings and your data results. At the bottom, the additional sheets show the oxygen versus time graph for each well, and the combined oxygen versus time graph, and the data sheet showing the timestamp data for each well. The datasheet further reveals the specific value for each of the red dotted oxygen data points that we saw in the Graphs tab. And in this datasheet, you will also find the timestamped MO2 values for each well. And that's it on how to analyze an experiment in MicroResp. If you have any questions about how to analyze an experiment in MicroResp, or about other aspects of the software, you are welcome to contact us on our website.